They know that we're taking care of them over here. I don't want to say it's a no-fault company, but man, if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. Let's saddle back up. Let's figure out what we're going to do about it, and let's go and get after it.
Welcome to the Cleaning Up Podcast, Millionaire Secrets of the Home Services Industry. Brought to you by me, Ron Holt, CEO and founder of Two Maids and a Mop, America's fastest growing cleaning company. I get a chance to sit down with home service industry pros and other entrepreneurial leaders so they can share their stories, their insight, their experiences. It's so much fun. You're going to learn so much. And you're going to be inspired to take your small business into a national brand just like I did.
We've got Joe Chiellini. He's the CEO and founder of ASI Landscape Management, which focuses on the commercial market in the Tampa Bay and now Orlando market space. And the two things you're going to want to hear here is this guy started with a 2-man residential lawn service company and now has over 180 people working for him across those two different markets. And best of all, he's projected right now to do $14 million in revenue this year. So he's a true rags to riches story, and I can't wait to hear it. So welcome, Joe, to our podcast here.
Thank you, Ron. Pleasure to be here.
You bet. So I would love to just start from those early days. So you start, I always get a lot of credit for building Two Maids and a Mop from something to or from nothing to something. And it's been almost a 17-year journey, but looks like yours started even longer than that, way back in the early 90s. Can you take us back to those early days and tell us what the experience was like?
Absolutely. So for your listeners to know as well, as I was hired on as a firefighter with the local fire department here, Hillsborough County Fire Rescue, and it was a career paid job, and we worked, our schedule was 24 on and 48 hours off, and I was 19 years old when I was hired, 19, 20 years old, and all firemen at that time, we didn't make a lot of money. If you were dumb enough to run into a burning building, they gave you a certificate and said, here, go to work, and we made about $7 and some change an hour. And obviously that wasn't going to pay the bills. Working 8 days a month, we had a lot of free time. So most firemen had side jobs. A lot of firefighters were there, whether they were electricians, masons, roofers, whatever they were. And I did all of those trades, to be honest with you. I was a helper for most of them. They saw a 19-year-old kid walk in the fire station, and they figured strong back, weak mind, and they'd have me climbing through attics doing AC or on a roof or whatever it might be. So finally I said, I think I can do something myself. And I started just cutting some yards, residential yards. And at that time I was living with my parents and a little area called Temple Terrace here in Hillsborough County. And I started just cutting some yards in the area and grew it. As I grew, I used firefighters as my workforce. It was great. On my 2 days off, I'd grab some guys that weren't working those days either. I'd pay them, cash. And my business started to grow, and it always seemed bigger than it was because when my clients would see me, I'd have 5 or 6 guys, but they didn't realize that we're just getting everything done in 2 days because that's when I had all the guys to get it done. So as we grew the company, we established a nice little reputation, and I ended up hiring a couple full-time employees as we grew because on my days at the fire station, I still had to get work done, and it wasn't all getting done on my 2 days off or 3 days that week. So I hired a gentleman named Mark Almeida. We call him Slim. We nicknamed him Slim back then. He was in his early 20s, and he today is a 30% owner in the company. Just long and short of that neat story. But in the meantime, we got our first commercial break. We were taking care of a gentleman's yard. We never really knew who these people were or what they did. We weren't real good at figuring that out. We just knew we cut their grass, and they sent us a check every month. Well, this gentleman worked for a commercial building company, and he thought my company was a lot bigger than it was and asked me if we wanted to bid on a commercial office building with a shopping plaza attached. And so we went out and gave a number, and he liked it. I'm sure because it was probably half of what I should have been charging to do that building. But we did it, and we stuck with it. We kept our name. We kept our reputation. And, I owe the start of my commercial world to a gentleman named Bill Clayton, Mr. Clayton. I don't even know if he's still alive, to be honest with you, but that was the start of our commercial arena. And, Mark stayed with us, and to this day, he's the CEO of ASI Landscape Management.
That's awesome. So how long of a time span are we talking from when you went from just doing this a couple days a week to a full-time job for you?
Well, when I hired the first full-time team members, being Slim and another gentleman, it was probably 3 years in, because I was working Saturdays or whatever it took. I didn't have much of a life. I was a young man and just worked hard and played hard, to be honest with you. And so if I worked Saturdays, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't have a family to go home to or anything like that. So it was probably 3 years that we really worked that. And even after we got our first commercial break, we still did residential and commercial. And we did that probably for 2 years, maintaining both of that portfolio. And it just got to be very tough. It's two different animals in a sense of the care. Residentials, I used to tell my guys that you're going into somebody's backyard, a lot like you, Ron. You're going into somebody's personal home, their space. Going to commercial buildings a little different. So we did it for a couple of years, and we just realized they weren't going to mix very well together. So we had to pick one and do one well. It kind of was our theory behind it. So,
as you know, I'm a big fan of the entrepreneur, especially the successful entrepreneur, because that person has to be a little crazy, and I feel like I'm a little crazy myself, because the grit, the hustle, all the buzzwords you hear, those are real. You're not sleeping. You're probably eating some really bad, unhealthy food. Your social life's non-existent, and you're solely focused on one objective: building that business from the ground up into something crazy successful later. And then there's a lot of logical reasons to just not do it, right? And that's why I love. I'm a sort of a contrarian by nature. That's why I love business, because it just sort of it turns everything upside down. Because you shouldn't want to feel pain, and building a business is painful. So I'd love for you to kind of share what type of grit and hustle was required from you during those early days to get it to a place where it could be a self-serving business that didn't require some, subsidization from you in terms of working other jobs.
So, with what you're saying there, I think back when I was a firefighter on the back of the engine, and I was at a fire station, and next door was a Barnes and Noble's bookstore. And I used to walk over there, and even my captain would go with me. He loved to read. And I would go over, and I'd always grab a business book, and I would literally be reading at the fire station. I would have my office, and it wasn't much of an office. It was all paper receipts back then. It wasn't, a lot of computer stuff. My mom did all our payroll. It was run out of my mom's house. So, but I mean, when I was at the fire station, other guys were, they were getting their naps in, or working out in the bay, or just whatever it was. I was running my business at the fire station is what I was doing. Every chance I got, between calls, between making meals for everybody, whatever it was, that was the grind I put in. So you talk about that, it would have been real easy for me to walk away, because I had another income. Like, why am I dealing with Mrs. Crabtree's, calling me today about her, we didn't weed eat her backyard properly, or whatever it was. It was very easy for me to walk away. And I didn't, and I think it's built into us, that entrepreneurial spirit. You want it, and even now today, I look for team members that had their own businesses. There's two people I look for, but that's one of them. I look for an entrepreneurial spirit, somebody who had their own business and maybe just didn't understand the business side of it, but they had the passion for the green industry, or maybe they understood the business side of it, but just the green industry piece ate them up, and they weren't able to do it. So when I'm either looking to acquire a company or just looking for a team member that maybe they lost their business or whatever, I love it, because I think it is built into certain people, and I think it's very, very hard to find somebody that's willing to go after it and get after it. And try to succeed in business.
So you were literally drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, you could say that, because there was nights, we run calls all night, and I'd get out there and I'd hop on a mower and go to work, and I'd back up to my trailer, or at that time I'd meet my crews, because they would hopefully get out in the mornings. I had maybe 2 or 3 guys working for me, and all of us firemen would get together. It was crazy what we do. I remember we had a neighborhood. We mowed 88 homes in one neighborhood, and we'd do those in one day. So, like, if I got a bad night's sleep the night before at the fire station, it really sucked.
Yeah. Plus, it's 112 degrees, right?
Yeah, you've been down here, Ron. It's miserable in the middle of summer.
Yeah, you earned your dollars from those 88 that day.
Yeah, absolutely. I was in great shape, though. I was in real good shape.
So you hired your first few employees. How much trouble did you have getting people to believe in what you were trying to build there?
Well, I had a partner as well in my early days, and he was a fireman. And we hired on our first couple team members, like I explained, and then we used firemen. But the company was starting to grow, and I brought in a consultant. And when I hired these guys, it was tough to get them to buy in because we had no benefits. I was willing to pay him cash, so they made a few more bucks. But I probably wasn't getting the best guy. If he's looking to make cash and be week to week in his paycheck, it probably wasn't the best guy. I was lucky that I found Slim, and he was a young man, willing to work, had a great work ethic, and him and I, we're very close now, obviously, but we grew together. But, I brought a consultant in, and he sat me down and really laid it out and said, you're on the brink of something really special here, and it's time to treat it like a company and not a little business anymore. It's time to look at this thing differently. And he really, we laid out a plan and everything else. And one of those plans was looking at my partner and going, listen, we're putting all this time and effort in, and heck, even Slim is probably, you should be reporting to Slim even. I mean, so we did a pecking order, we did an org chart, the whole 9 yards. So when I was looking for team members, he goes, if you want to attract people to your company, you have to give them something. And if you want better talent, where you're trying to take this company to, that you have to have some things in place to offer them. This fly-by-night paying a guy under the table, or it's just not going to work for long, and it's not building the brand that you want to build. So it was, I believe in consultants a lot, and he was the first one I ever brought in, and man, that was a punch in the gut.
Right. What's interesting about consultants is, their information is always very valuable. We did the same thing as we were building our business out, because we really struggled on the cleaning side. I never really focused on the cleaning portion of our trade, which sounds somewhat weird, probably because we were a residential cleaning company, but it's just not something that ever I was passionate about. And so eventually, after we had 12 corporate stores, I said, we've got to do something to improve the quality.
Sure.
And so we brought in a cleaning expert. And, from that time forward, we actually had a systemized process to how we clean a home. And it really helped us, because it allowed, most importantly, it allowed for the bottom line to look very uniform and consistent across all 12 of those stores. Because prior to that, everybody was using different products. It was taking longer. We were doing a lot of re-cleans. And on top of that, we weren't even pricing, properly, because everybody was sort of just winging it. And so once we started creating systems inside the business, specifically, devoted to cleaning, our worldview and the experience changed as well. So did you have that same sort of epiphany? Was there a moment where you had to really document what you were doing? I know you work with consultants, but or how long did all the information reside in your head?
Well, it's funny you say that, because that was one of the things that we put in place, Ron, is he came in and he says, a lot of times people, you got a good team member that walks in the door, and maybe it's not all about money. It's about the comfort that you know what you're doing and that you are transparent with that. So that would be in the SOPs. And, me working at the fire department, our trucks and everything at the station, it was very paramilitary. Everything had a place. We had SOPs that we operated by. If this happens, you do this. If this happens, you do that. And every day there was a different structure of what we did at the station, whether it be training or whether it be, cleaning the bays, whatever it was. And I'm sitting there going, I'm not even bringing this to my own company. Like, what the hell am I doing? And he brought to my attention, like, number one, Joe, you're a fireman. You do this every day. Every third day you're going to the fire department living this. You're not bringing it to your company. And the second thing is, a lot of times the team members aren't looking for necessarily money. They're looking for a place that they know is sustainable, that's going to be around. And when they see these processes and SOPs and so forth in place, that makes them want to work there. They feel comfortable that you know what you're doing and this company's going to be there. And that's something that we've, lived by since. And listen, as far as I'm concerned, SOPs and are a daily grind. You're always coming up with, oh, shoot, this happened today. We better get something in writing about this. And so everybody knows if this happens again, this is how we respond to that. So it's ongoing with us, but also it was a big piece for our team members to feel comfort. And by the way, I don't know about you guys, but I'm trying to pull team members from national companies, worldwide companies, These are where, a lot of the A players are, and I don't want them walking in our doors and thinking we're, 1% less than what they've come from. So I got to have some things in place, and SOPs really, really help with that.
Well, that's a good segue, because one of the things that I'm enamored with you is what you've done to create a culture inside your business. You're very similar to us. All the work's outside of the office, right? And so
yes,
your work's being done and outside. And for the most part, I'm sure there's some type of quality control system there. But at the end of the day, the client probably sees the work before any of your QC agents, or you do, for instance.
Absolutely.
We're in the same boat. But we created the pay for performance plan many years ago to try to combat that, to create some motivational incentives for our employees to sort of think like an owner. And when I talked to you, I really was enamored by what you've done to create maybe a little bit different type of process, but still very much a strong method to really get people to care about what they're doing. And so it sounds like you treat your people like people. You get inside the business. You're never too far away from it. For instance, tell me if I'm wrong here, but you still ride along with your employees on a regular basis, right, to see what's going on out in the field?
Yes, I love doing ride-alongs. And I was running our sales team for a little while, but I've recently brought on a sales manager, so I'm looking forward to getting back into the seat. And actually, I just told one of my branch managers this morning I'm going to go ride with his client relation manager here in the next couple of weeks. I really enjoy that. I'm very, very open with our team, and I get a lot out of just sitting in the truck and riding with these guys, and a lot like, people, I'll share this with you. They get, when my guys, so we have 86 trucks basically between 3 branches that at 6:30 a.m. they pull out of all our branches, and we have no touch, no contact with them after that. Yeah, obviously we have GPS tracking and we know where they are, and we obviously can call them and stuff, but it's not like being in an office environment where you can build a culture just walking around the office and being that great leader or CEO, boss, whatever your title is, and really build a culture. You have to get out in the field to build that culture. I have to walk my sites with my team. I got to go out there and throw on a safety vest and go walk with the team and go, hey guys, how is today? What's going on? What's bothering you? Is there anything I can do? I try not to dig too deep because my managers really get mad at some of the promises I might make or some of the comments I make. Dang it, Joe, you told them this, really? But that's the nature of me. But it's about being out there. And, one of the things we did that day, you and I spoke on the phone a little bit, we were doing a Mexican fiesta for our team. We bring them all in, and, man, we just did it. We had, tacos and burritos, and we had it all catered in, and we had so much fun with it. We did raffle items, and it was a lot of fun. And we don't ever get everybody together but twice a year like that, or 3 times with our Christmas party we'll do. So 3 times a year we bring the entire company together. But other than that, a lot like you, they're out in the field, and in order for me to find them, or in order for me to interact with them, I have to go find them. So that's one of the things I make sure I do. But I also empower my team to do that. I don't want to see you at the offices. Get out, the branch managers, the CRMs. I know you're a client relation manager, but how about stopping in and seeing how the crews are doing? Just if they're at a property, pull in. I like bringing the guys Gatorades. If I know there's a 4-man crew at a site and I'm going there, I'll grab 4 Gatorades on my way there and just bring them to them and say, hey, thanks for everything you're doing, and make sure that the quality's done, and make sure they understand that I know this isn't a home like a residence, but this is somebody's home that's coming here. There's an owner, there's a renter. There's a leasee, leaseor, so we try to keep that in the forefront.
So you're out there, man. You're $14 million next year. You're projected to do $17 million in revenue, but you're never too far away from the people who work for you and those clients as well, right? It sounds like you know your people.
And one of the big things and my team really looks forward to it, is each month I hit a branch. So we have 3 branches, and I make sure I'm at a branch for dispatch, and dispatch is at 6:30. Each branch rounds up their teams. They talk if there's a safety issue, or they just do what we call a morning huddle, and we actually do stretching in the morning huddles. The guys just get a quick stretch in, and they get in their trucks and they head out. But I go once a month, at least a minimum, and I announce birthdays and anniversaries. So everybody really gets a good kick out of that, just hearing their name called for whether it be their birthday or work anniversary. And I explain it to them like this: I'm glad it's your birthday, and not that I want to take anything away from that. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad your mom and dad, did what they did, and you're here on this earth. But at the end of the day, the anniversary is more important to me, because that means that we're doing something right, and I want to make sure that we're treating people right. And if you've been here in our industry, Ron, if you can get somebody on a line trimmer or an edger or a mower that's sticking with you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that's a really big deal. And so we try to make a big deal about that. Our new team members, they get a different colored safety vest. They get an orange one instead of a yellow one. And when that 90 days is up, we call it their probation period, we announce when I'm there usually, this gentleman made it off probation, or this gal made it off probation, and they get their yellow vest, and we make a big deal about it. And so we want to make sure that we're letting them know that we are invested in them, and that we're looking for long-term relationships.
Yeah, I love it. I can see why you guys are so successful there in Tampa, and Orlando. So we've talked a lot about just sort of the ramp up and hiring, and that's both of those things are super important in our business as well. The franchisee who comes in and wants to start a two maids and a mop, for the most part, has never owned a business before. So we're really teaching people how to be managers of people, but also managers of blue collar people, and it's a different experience for typically our franchisee who comes from a white collar world. And we talked about what kind of hustle is required, and that's also something that's a little different, because in the white collar world, there's a lot of hard work, a lot of intellectual thinking, but in our business, in our blue collar world, there's some sweat, right? There's just some hard work. So let's kind of get to where we are now. We've talked about those early days, and I want to talk about what life's like today and how it could possibly relate to some of our franchisees in the residential cleaning world. You got to keep doing something different, right? You can't just be the same company that keeps working hard. There's always a new competitor in our space. There's very low barriers to entry, both in yours and ours.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are you doing today to prevent that next competitor from coming in and stealing part of this market share from you?
So I believe it starts with the team. And I know that we talked a lot about the team earlier. Because number one, if your team performs and you can keep the retention of your people, in our world, our clients like to know that they got the same CRM, they got the same production manager, with CRM being a client relation manager. They see the same production manager. They see the same foreman on the truck. That means a lot, and we've discovered that over the last few years. But a couple of things that we do to promote that, and this is even with our clients, and I was just dealing with a branch manager early this morning about this. One thing that we do, and I do it, this is from top down, we admit our faults. If we've done something, we admit it. And I'll go to them and I'll say, hey, team, we made a bad hire here. I made a bad hire. They're no longer with us. That was on me. And I ask them to do the same thing with their team. You have to admit your faults so that, to me, the defense mechanisms come down right away. It's okay to make a mistake on a property. Hey, yeah, I ran this mower into the fence and it got a little out of control and I cracked the fence, but we know about it ahead of time. And we want to go to the client and share with them. Admit our faults. It's okay, whatever it is. And we also have a little saying around here, and I think this is big. It was just a saying that came up actually among my daughter's softball team, believe it or not. But I brought it here, and just they saw a sticker on my window, and they're all kind of asking what it was, and it's called OTS. And for pronunciation purposes, I'll say own that stuff, but we use another word instead of stuff. And that's a big thing. We have stickers made. They're on our, people put them on their computers. We got them. I got one on the back of my cell phone. We got little stickers, and they're just and I know you're a beach guy, Ron. The stickers that usually have down here we have Anna Marie Island. It says AMI, and it's in a circle.
Right.
We use that, and that's what the sticker is. Just says OTS. Doesn't say anything else on it. And people ask, but it's about owning what we're doing. Whatever your position is, whatever your job is that day, own it. And that means it's yours. And am I going to leave this looking like this, knowing that I own that? And we use it. I mean, it's funny, the people, around our offices and our branches, they all get a kick out of it. And I've probably given out 300 of these stickers. So that's one of the biggest things that we do. And we feel if we get our team in on what we do, because just like you said, it's a very low dollar entry level company that you can start up. We do compete with them. It's crazy that we even have to think about competing with somebody like that, but we do. And then, on the other end, with the admitting default, I'll call the client, say, hey, I messed up. And we just did that this morning. I was mentioning earlier, gentleman had one of my branch managers, Joe, he says, listen, I can't get this property to work, man. My guys are spending more hours there and everything else. We sat down. I said, Joe, the biggest thing is you OTS this, and let's call the client. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out how we can do it. An hour later, Ron, we were done with it. Client happy. My branch manager's not stressing out, and we're moving on. And they actually got a kick out of the whole OTS thing too. Our client did. So that's one of the things we do as far as our team has to be better because we are so labor driven in our industry. It's a huge number on our P&L and everything. And the other thing we do is communication. And I'm constantly working. Ron, you and I talked a lot about that. I'm trying to find more, quicker, better, whatever it is, ways to communicate with our team. Not only our team, but our clients. How do we let them know what we've done as quick as possible? And as detailed as possible. So that's what we're trying to do to make us different, and that's how we're getting a lot of our team members now. They know that we're taking care of them over here. I don't want to say it's a no fault company, but man, if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. Let's saddle back up. Let's figure out what we're going to do about it, and let's go and get after it.
Well, I can tell you've built a great business, and I'm proud to know you. I'm proud to call you a friend now, and I'm glad we're not in the landscaping business right now because we'd have a tough competitor in you for sure.
Oh, I appreciate that. I really do.
I'd like to ask you a couple of just rapid fire questions. How about that?
Sure.
This is kind of unscripted. So let's assume you sell your operations and you and your family move to, let's say, Miami. You just got a fresh start. You got to go somewhere else, and you got to do this thing all over again. You go down to Miami and you want to start a whole nother division of ASI. But the difference is your wife says, yeah, all that money you just made from selling the business, we're going to buy a boat and a couple of beach houses. You can't use it to start this business. You got to think guerrilla, So could you do it again? If you were to move to another city, could you do it all over again and recreate what you've done? And if so, what would you do right now to start that business?
So yes, I could. And I would start a residential lawn business. Knowing what I know now and everything I've been through, it would be a boutique business, and I would charge very high dollar to give very high-end service. And one-stop shop residential lawn business, because I know I could start that myself. I could get it off the ground. I'd use my two younger boys. I'd use them as cheap labor, and I could get it going to where I could eventually bring in some quality team members and really almost steal ideas, whether it be from a company like yours, Ron, that you guys are doing a great job, or some of these other pest control companies out there that have this instant touch with their clients. And I think that is exactly what I do, because I still love the green industry. Although I've transitioned a lot in the business side of it, but I still do love the idea of pruning some bushes and throwing some landscaping in or whatever it might be.
Gotcha. Do you ever see yourself not being in the field? Are you ever going to step away and just make some money while everyone else is working?
I don't. And as much as sometimes my managers cringe when I come around, they go, oh, here comes Joe. He's going to give something free away today. I enjoy the people. I enjoy the team. I enjoy the client even interaction piece. I love going and talking to them, and I love sharing our story because most of them don't know. A lot of times they see a landscape company, and Ron, you guys probably experienced this a little bit, but they think we're lawn jockeys. They're just some guys that cut grass. They don't realize there's a $14 million machine behind them here that can do whatever you need done. And so I really enjoy that part. The piece that I would eventually see me getting away from would be more the operational strategic part. I would see me more in the more of the business side and how are we growing in the future. I love strategic planning, so that would be a big piece of what I would do with the company.
All right, last one. So think back to all of those $14 million that you're doing this year, and even before all this, and what's one customer success story that is a little bit different and unique that has not only just allowed you to gain a new customer, but generated millions of dollars potentially, or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. Do you have something kind of top of mind to share?
Oh, heck yeah. So I have a client actually taking them to the University of South Florida football game tomorrow night. It's funny you ask about it. They've been a client with us now for 15 years. So 15 years ago, we were just breaking into the commercial world, and we were getting into the multifamily, the apartment world. And we took on a nice client and had a nice little portfolio. And back then, I mean, I was basically an account manager, a sales rep, whatever it took. You know, we were growing the company. And her name's Lori. Her and her husband, all of us, we're very close now with my family. But, you know, when things would not happen in those days, I mean, if you weren't operating our standards, or like if you did something to one of our clients, I mean, the big joke was, oh, Joe, get rid of him. Like, there was no tolerance for that. Long story short, Lori has a nice portfolio. Her boss comes into town, and he is just not happy with the work that we were producing on some of their sites. And this is a national company as well. We just happen to have the portfolio here in Tampa Bay area. And our foot was gone. It was out the door. I mean, we were done. And I went and sat with the president out of Texas, Dallas, Texas, of this millions and millions of dollars of portfolio, and running a major multifamily management company. And I walked in and I said, just laid it all out and said, I'm sorry, this is what we did. This is my company. I'm here to talk to you, and I don't want to lose your business. I want to know what it's going to take for me to earn and keep your business and earn your trust. And well, that happened probably 2 years into our relationship. 13 years later, I'm actually invited to their national conference. I don't even do all their properties, obviously, in the country, in Dallas. I still go see them. And it's just him and I have a great relationship. And he goes, it's because you walked in my door that day as a young entrepreneur, Joe. I saw it in you, and you took ownership of what you were doing. And it's one of our biggest and best clients today.
Well, what I'm hearing in this interview is that you the entrepreneur, Joe the entrepreneur, is still, even from those early days to now, $14 million later, is still super important. And I think that's, if anything, I hope our franchisees out there, we've got franchisees that are literally just a couple weeks old. We got franchisees that are generating more than $1 million in revenue and been in it for a decade, and so no matter who that is, I want everyone here to hear what Joe's telling you, that as you build this business, if there's joy in the work that you're doing, if there's passion behind what you're delivering, none of what you do is ever going to feel like work. And what you bring, that passion you bring to your business, is going to keep paying you back. Yeah, you're going to make some money, but you're also going to be able to live a life of just pure joy, right? I mean, all that work you do, all those ride-alongs, all that sweat that you did early on outside in the Tampa heat, all that is paying you back right now. And on top of that, you're loving life, So I love talking to you. I love the success you've had, and I'm just honored that you participated in this interview today. So, Joe, there are a few of us out here that love that area that you live in. We've got some franchisees down there, and maybe they can connect with you at some point and talk to you about how you guys can build a relationship. So, if you don't mind, tell us how we can get in touch with you.
So, you obviously, I'll give you my phone number. It's 813-299-8915, and I would love, Ron, to talk to any of your franchisees. I have tons of other things that I'd share between, board of advisors that I use and everything else, which I think are just super important for small businesses. My email address is the letter J, CHIELLINI @ ameriscapeusa.com. And they can call me either way, and they'll find that I am one of the easiest people to get a hold of in the Tampa Bay area. And I love talking business. So if they want to call and talk business about whatever it is, and we can go have a beer and cry in our beers together sometimes. That's just the way business is. Or we can celebrate the good times as well. So I'd love to hear from any of them.
Well, I'm taking you up on that offer. Next time I'm in that area, we're going to have that beer. We're going to talk shop.
Hey guys, Beth Lovett in Business Development. If you enjoyed this episode, then please share with your friends, and don't forget to tune in to the next episode of Cleaning Up. Have you ever wondered if you wanted to be in business for yourself? If so, then don't hesitate to give me a call at 205-789-8027 or email me at bethl@ineedamaid.com. And if you just want a window shop, then you can see us online at twomaidsfranchise.com.